Aloha fams. So we back with our 2025 May Kavaiola issue, and this is a controversial one. This is titled Marine National Monument in Jeopardy by Jonay Peters. About 934 miles west southwest of Hawaii is a remote group of seven small, uninhabited islands and atolls spread over some 495,000 square miles of ocean. Baker, Howland Jarvis, Johnston Atoll, Kingman Reef, Palmyra Atoll, and Wake Atoll. The region is renowned for its extraordinary biodiversity. Its islands are home to colonies of at least a dozen different endemic seabird species, and its nutrient rich shallows support countless species of coral, fish, giant clams, sea turtles, reef sharks, and giant clams. Beyond the reefs, dolphins, sharks, whales, and other threatened and depleted species thrive in the deep water between the islands, including rare melonhead whales and a possible new species of beaked whale. It is a region of deep seamounts and other unique ecosystems, much of which remains unexplored. U.S. activities in the Central Pacific. In the mid 19th century, America laid claim to these islands, known until recently as the Pacific Remote Islands, via the Guano Islands Act of 1856. Guano, a byproduct of seabird excrement, was a valuable resource used for fertilizer and, to a lesser degree, gunpowder. Colonists known as Hui Panala'ao were recruited from Hawaii to inhabit Baker, Jarvis, and Howard Islands. About 130, mostly native Hawaiians, young men were sent there so America could prove the islands were resident occupied by United States citizens. The ill-conceived project, though, resulted in the tragic deaths of three of the young men and was terminated in February 1942 after the U.S. entered the war. Johnson Atoll, despite being designated as a seabird refuge in 1926, was used by the U.S. military between 1958 and 1962 as a launch site for extremely high altitude outer space nuclear weapon development and testing. A series of three nuclear missile test accidents during this period left portions of the atoll contaminated with plutonium. Then in 1971, the military built a chemical weapons storage facility on Johnston Atoll, which at one point housed nearly 7% of America's chemical weapons arsenal, including various nerve agents and 1.8 million gallons of Agent Orange. Nearly 30,000 gallons of which leaked into the soil of Johnston Atoll over a 5 year period. Eventually, a chemical agent dispersal system was built on Johnston Atoll to destroy the arsenal there. The facility was closed in the year 2000 and its use as a bird sanctuary resumed. Nevertheless, portions of the atoll remain contaminated. Efforts to heal and protect the region. Recognizing the region's rich biodiversity in the early 2000s, conservation scientists began advocating to establish the area as a protected marine sanctuary. The islands of Baker, Howard, and Jarvis had already been designated as national wildlife refuges in 1974, and by 2001, Kingman Reef and Palmyra Atoll were similarly designated. In 2009, U.S. President George W. Bush designated the region as the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument, or the PRIMNM, establishing management areas of 50 nautical miles around each set of islands and atolls. Although Hawaii is the closest inhabited island group to the region, it is known to and was used by other Pacific peoples. For example, both Johnston Atoll and Wake Island were used by ancient navigators from many cultures as a resting stop during their voyages. Thus, efforts to expand protection to 200 nautical miles for the remaining islands has continued with involvement from indigenous Pacific island nations. Clear and present danger. Despite its status as a marine national monument and its critical importance to the biodiversity in the Pacific, the PIHMNM remains endangered. In March, the Department of the Air Force announced its intent to build two commercial rocket landing pads on Johnston Island for its Rocket Cargo Vanguard program, which aims to develop the technology to deliver up to 100 tons of cargo anywhere on Earth using non military commercial rockets. Scientists and environmentalists are speaking out against this plan, citing, in addition to the atoll's obvious protected status, the biohazards and contamination remaining on the atoll from the military activity there in the 1960s and 70s. In a press release, American Bird Conservancy President Michael Parr said that installing rocket landing pads on Johnston Atoll cannot occur without significantly disrupting wildlife and harming the important bird colonies found there. Despite the protests, the Department of the Air Force and Space Force released the draft of its environmental assessment EA with the finding of no significant impact last month and gave the public just 30 days to comment on the project. Then in April, the commercial fishing ban in the PIHMNM was reversed by an executive order, a veritable 1-2 punch to conservation scientists and ocean protectors. This undermines decades of work to protect and preserve public lands and waters, endangered species, and cultural heritage in favor of commercial interests, said Earth Justice Attorney David Henkin. This is one of the most pristine tropical marine environments in the world, and it already faces dire threats from climate change and ocean acidification. Marine biologist Rod Richmond, by raiding what amounts to our children's marine bank accounts, we are denying them a future of sustainable food from the ocean. U.S. Congresswoman Amata, who represents American Samoa, has also been extremely vocal about allowing industrial tuna fishing in the protected region. However, overfishing in waters near American Samoa has adversely affected fish populations, threatening the industry. One reason why the territory has aggressively pursued commercial fishing in the PIHMNM and challenged the scientific rationale for even having marine protected areas. Although the executive order purports to restore American competitiveness in the seafood industry, the iconic Starfish Charlie tuna cannery in American Samoa is actually owned and managed by Dongwon, a South Korean conglomerate. Despite past extractive and abusive human activities, the oceans encompassing the PIHMNM remain one of the last intact oceanic ecosystems in the world and must be protected. Think about it.